Joining us right now on the phones, Congressman Jodey Arrington. Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Hasty, my friend. How you doing?
Doing well. Good to have you on the show, and good to speak to you for the first time as Congressman. Has it all kind of sunk in yet? I know you were sworn in last week, and you've had two big committee assignments announced. Is it all kind of sinking in and running smooth now?
I don't know about that last part, running smooth, but we hadn't had time to really think. I mean, I don't get to. I went to bed last night at 1 a.m, and occasionally I get a quiet moment where I can reflect, but it's just moving fast, and I thank God and the people of West Texas for letting me represent them. It's a big deal. It's a sacred honor and trust, and I got to tell you, the table's set for us to get a lot done, and I couldn't have walked into this role. I wish it was walking into the role, but I couldn't have gotten into this role at a better time. And I think we haven't had I think just 2 times since World War II that we've had a unified Republican leadership where we had control of the White House and the upper and lower chambers of Congress. So I've got high expectations for us as the United States Congress. I've got high expectations for myself on behalf of District 19, and we're moving already. I've voted on several pieces of legislation that are very important to our country and getting it back to a place where we can prosper and the free market can drive production and opportunity and job creation. And then we're going to do Obamacare repeal by the end of the week. So big slate of things to do, and already lots of things done.
Yeah, and it's some very important votes. Let's talk a little bit about your committee assignments that have been announced this week. And I want to start off with the one that you made your goal to get on from the moment that you were campaigning, which was the Ag Committee. Talk about that appointment and what needs to be done and what you want to do as being part of that Ag Committee.
Very excited, and relieved because, as I told the leadership, including Mike Conaway, if I don't get on that Ag Committee, I'm not going back to the district because they'll run me out. And they understood that West Texas and agriculture go hand in hand, and that we are the food and fiber epicenter for this nation. And so we've got a seat at the table. We're going to have a farm bill that we're going to open up very soon. I think we're going to be preparing for it immediately. So whether we open it up in 17 or we do it as planned in 18, we're going to get to work, right off the bat. We've got to get cotton back in as a covered commodity. It was pulled out, in my opinion, irresponsibly because it was a case made by Brazil against us in the form of the WTO. And quite frankly, the WTO, I think there's a lot of envy with respect to our country and our producers, and I don't want to be a slave to the WTO. I think Donald Trump has tapped into this as well, but we have trade deals in a trade environment where everybody's playing by the same rules, and that American producers are able to compete head to head. So there's a lot to look at, whether it's ag policy in the Farm Bill and the risk management tools that we give our farmers with crop insurance and price loss coverage and things of that nature. But it's also trade, it's tax, it's regulations. Chad, we just passed a major piece of legislation on reforming our regulatory environment and deconstructing this regulatory state that we've created that's just been crushing our economy. So lots of opportunities to support and provide an environment where our producers can do what they do best. And as long as we make it an even playing field, our guys are going to win. West Texas will win, and America will win. So
you were also appointed to the House Budget Committee. Is that something you were angling for, or was that a surprise to you in your office?
You know what? We were working to get on that committee, but not initially. So as I worked through the process, talked to leadership, talked to the steering committee and others, I learned that I'd have an opportunity. And the more people encouraged me to look at it, because we've just lost fiscal control in our country, as you know, and your listeners know. The national debt is something that we all talked about during the campaign, and I've said it's the greatest threat to the future of our country. And when I think about my kids and what kind of America they grow up in, I think if we don't get our arms around this and rein in the spending, start to balance our budget, all these other issues are really secondary. So yeah. And the other thing is, it's a broad. Budget is policy. Really, it reflects policy, and we're going to look across the entire spectrum of the federal government, and we're going to set targets and guide the budget process for the authorizing committees and for the appropriations committee. So it drives a lot of policy. It certainly sets the tone for what our fiscal policy should be. And here's the most exciting thing, and this is unprecedented. The budget committee, for the first time that I know of, maybe ever, we're going to initiate the repeal of Obamacare through a process called reconciliation. And then we're going to initiate, complete in the House, the reform of our tax code. So those are two huge policy initiatives. They're going to make a big difference, and they're all interconnected, right? I mean, you've got to create an environment where we can thrive, and our job creators can do what they do best, and not the government. That's create jobs, which will increase the tax revenue, which will help us get at the national debt and our deficit spending. But at the same time, we've got to rein in, especially the mandatory spending side, which is crowding out our discretionary and it's really driving the debt. Obamacare is the classic example of expanding really a broken program anyway with Medicaid, because that's mostly what Obamacare has done. And so to repeal Obamacare, initiate that, that's going to go a long way to helping us move towards a balanced budget and back to living within our means like every other American.
As someone who's going to focus a lot on ag, and you want to focus a lot on ag, any concerns that President-elect Trump has not named who he wants to see as ag secretary? That's almost been, I don't want to say left behind, but it's one of those that it's still hanging out there. No one knows who the ag secretary is going to be.
Well, I've heard of the names and read about some of the folks and even talked to folks who have been considered, and there's some good names out there. I don't know why they haven't announced it. I know, but there's a good slate of qualified folks that he's considering. My main thrust around President-elect Trump is and my enthusiasm, among other things, is his desire to have trade deals that put America first and American producers first. And I think that's something he talked about in the campaign. He tapped into, I think, the American sentiment that, these deals just don't seem fair. Seems like we're getting the short end of the stick. So I think he's going to be very supportive of a strong ag industry, and I think he's taking, I guess, great care to make sure that he appoints somebody that reflects that sort of policy sentiment. And I'm not discouraged by it. I'm going to be working alongside our friend and fellow West Texan Mike Conaway. So we've got him in the driver's seat on the committee. You've got another West Texan at the table. I feel good about what we can do to get cotton, back in and have the safety net that they need. And listen, if we didn't have to have a safety net, the farmers would be happy with that. Quite frankly, I would too. But this isn't free trade theory. This is the sort of unfair trade reality. China dumps their cotton and distorts the market. They manipulate the markets in other ways, like through their currency, and they get mass subsidies from their government. These things, if we don't address them through a safety net and through a farm bill, they'll put our cotton guys out of business altogether. A, that's not fair. B, it's not good national security policy, because if we can't feed and clothe our people, as we've said over and over, then we're not a strong country. We're weaker, and we're not going to let that happen.
Congressman, appreciate your time. I know you've got some votes and some meetings coming up right around the corner, and we're going to actually visit with you in studio. I know you're back in the district this upcoming week, so we're going to visit with you while you're in town this next week. So looking forward to that.
Chad, thanks for the time, and I can't wait to sit down with you and talk more about this experience and a lot of the things that we've got teed up to do that I think our folks back home are going to be very pleased with.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate your time.
God bless, buddy. All right, bye-bye.
That's Congressman Jodey Arrington on the Chad Hasty Show. Next week on Tuesday, he will actually be in studio at right around this time, about 9:05. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM, KFYO. You know what? Because he just loves coming on the show. It's Congressman Jodey Arrington, who is back with us.
I can't get enough of Chad Hasty. I know your listeners feel the same way. So, hey, listen, I was going to put out a press release later today, so I'm just going to go ahead and break the news with you, Chad, and for your listeners, because I'm just too excited, and I want to tell these guys this is personal for me, and I think people will understand. We're also found out that we're going to be on the Veterans Affairs Committee.
Awesome.
So in addition to Ag and Budget, Dr. Phil Rowe, who's going to be the chairman, we had him out to Lubbock during the general election, has become a good friend. He's a great guy, country doctor from Tennessee, and worked with him, and I think he had a lot to do with getting us on the committee. And as you know, and your listeners know, there's a whole lot of work to be done to make sure that we take care of the men and women who served. And if there's a lot of broken places in this government, I don't think there's anyone that makes me, grieve more than the brokenness around serving our veterans. So anyway, big problem to solve. We get a seat at that table, and we've got 40,000 vets in the district, and I'm just excited to be a voice for those who've served in our armed forces.
Well, that's great, and that is, to me, looking at this, you're covering three huge areas of this district. Obviously, with Dyess Air Force Base and veterans, agriculture, and also let's not forget taxes, Obamacare and repealing Obamacare and dealing with that. That's three big committee assignments.
Well, I agree. I think we've covered the waterfront in terms of the big issues that affect us and that we care about. And you're exactly right about Dyess and the community, the military community and former military community there. And, of course, we have a VA hospital there in Big Spring. So, anyway, I just wanted to get back on. I've got to run, but I wanted to tell you that and tell your listeners and thank everybody who's praying for me and my family and who is supporting us in this endeavor. We're off to a good start.
Awesome. Congressman Arrington, appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Chad.
That's Congressman Jodey Arrington, also announcing that he has been appointed to the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Pretty good. That's three big committees. Like I said, you've got the obviously agriculture, you've got veterans, and the House Budget Committee as well.